let's talk about Courtney and Phil from 90 Day This Single Life. So I can't get over the adorable way that they started talking. Apparently, Courtney would go to this bar on Fridays, and one day she walked by and she decided to say hi to Phil, but Phil was too shy, so he didn't say anything back to her at the time. But then Courtney ended up leaving and he was kicking himself, and he's like, damn, that girl was beautiful, I wish I would have talked back to her. So he ended up talking to one of his favorite bartenders, and he's like, oh my gosh, do you know who that girl is? And she's like, yeah, that girl comes in every single Friday. So then Phil came to that bar every single Friday for the next 6 months. Courtney didn't show up, I guess, for 6 months, but eventually she did come 6 months later. She eventually showed up, and he ended up asking her on a date, and she said yes. And I'm glad she gave him a chance, because if anybody's going to be dedicated for 6 months, he showed up 6 months before he finally saw her again. That is some true dedication. And then after that, we see Colt, and he's at Phil's house, and he's at the back of his pool that's covered. Phil's got a nice fancy house, and he's sitting there slathering on sunscreen and his swim shorts. He looks like he's comfortable, like he has no plans on leaving Phil's house anytime soon. And Courtney walked up to him and she's like, hey, me and Phil need to sit down and talk to you. And he's like, okay. So Courtney started asking him about how Diana was and how his relationship was going with Diana. And Colt pretty much ruined things with Diana. They're still talking, but she has zero trust in him because of what he did to her. And Courtney's like, yeah, that's kind of what you did to me. And Colt's like, yeah, you're right. And Phil was like, yeah, you fumbled, so now I got her. Last time you did that, I got Courtney out of it. And he was all happy. And Colt's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And then after that, Courtney was like, yeah, so you kind of overstayed your welcome, so it's time for you to go. You got a few days to go, and you need to hit the road. And Colt was willing to go, and I was actually shocked. I thought Colt was about to fight tooth and nail to stay there, especially with how nice that house is and how it seems like they gave him his own room, they left him alone. I thought he was going to try to be one of those guys that was going to be like, no, you're going to have to evict me to get rid of me. But I'm glad that he willingly just up and left a few days later. You can tell that Colt's at least very appreciative for what Courtney and Phil have done for him, so I'm glad he's at least like that. I thought he was going to kind of be ungrateful when it came to Phil and feel some type of way, but it seems like afterwards when he moved out, he was talking more trash on Courtney than he was actually talking on Phil, which I thought it was going to be the other way around, and we're going to get to that here in a moment. So after Colt finally packed his bags and left a few days later, Courtney and Phil decided to go out on a date night. And this is the first date night that they've had out now that Colt has moved out. And Phil was opening up about Colt living with him, and I guess he's like, yeah, I didn't really like that guy living with us. He was a weirdo. And Courtney was like, well, it's not like he was really bothering us or anything. She really seemed to be minimizing the whole thing, which made me think, okay, girl, like, why are you downplaying it so much? Are you thinking about having him move in again in the future? But I guess apparently, according to Courtney, he was a pretty good roommate. I don't think he paid like rent or anything, but he mainly stayed out of the way. He would just stay in his room and argue with Diane all day, and he was always really depressed all the time. Also, I do have a quick spoiler alert. I don't know if Colt's still talking to Diana, but she's not going to be too happy because he's still talking to other women. I've had multiple women in my DMs who have sent me messages that Colt has been sending them, being very flirtatious, talking very sexual with them. And I was told by both these girls, neither one of these girls wanted to go public and say who they actually were, but they just wanted to let me know about the situation. And one of them did let me know that Colt is currently, he's either in Washington or Oregon. I can't remember what exactly state it was, but all I know is like completely on the other side of the country from where he originally was when he was staying in Florida with Courtney. He told one of the girls Diana is done with his ass, but you just never know with Colt. You don't know if he's just saying that so he can talk to other women, or if he's really still talking to Diana. But if he is still talking to Diana, then that just goes to show that much hasn't changed if he's still talking to all these other women. I guess if you just hit him up in the inbox and start off some friendly chats, Colt will take it there pretty quick, according to both of these women, that he started talking really sexual really fast. And then let's talk about Courtney and Phil's first date after Colt left. So they go out on this date. They're at this restaurant sitting there, and apparently they've been together for 3 months now. And Courtney said that Phil was everything that Colt wasn't. Phil's got money, Phil has stability, and Phil is actually really good in the bedroom. He doesn't have to take pills. They bang it out every single day. He's taking her to Pound Town in the bedroom, and she is loving every single minute of it. And Phil was like, yeah, this has been such a great 3 months. And he got on one knee and proposed to Courtney. And Courtney got so emotional, and she said, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, she was not expecting this after 3 months, but she went ahead and said yes. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys know me. Usually I bitch and moan anytime people rush things. And yes, I definitely feel like they're rushing things. But I kind of get it in this situation with Phil being 66 at the time of filming. He's probably like 67, 68 now. I can see him wanting to hurry up and get married because he's at the tail end of his life. So he's wanting to make sure he experiences as much as possible before his life is over. So I understand him wanting to hurry up and rush and marry things. And then it also makes me wonder, are you trying to rush things because you're scared that you're going to lose Courtney? Because apparently they broke up at one point. I guess Courtney said they broke up, and she tried to, okay, here's the thing. She said that once Colt moved out, she said she was going to block Colt, and she actually followed up and blocked Colt. And then I guess like a few months later, her and Phil ended up breaking up at one point, and she ended up blocking Phil. And then she unblocked Colt and reached out to Colt. And Colt said on the Between the Sheets episode, he's like, no, it was not like that. She actually never blocked me for months, and we were still talking. And he acted like Courtney was being very flirtatious with him, especially when he was living with Phil and Courtney. He said that he never saw the spark between Courtney and Phil. They just kind of seemed like roommates, and like she was tolerating him. But he said that anytime Courtney was around him, she would light up, she would be flirtatious. And he kind of feels like that's another reason why Phil wanted to get rid of him so fast, because he always knew that Courtney was going to come running back to him. But he said that Courtney never blocked him, despite what she claimed, and she was hitting him up the whole time. And I guess after Phil got blocked by Courtney after they broke up, I guess Courtney started blowing up Colt, and she's like, hey, it's my birthday, let's plan a trip to Mexico, start reaching out to hotels and see if you can get a discount, you know, if you shout them out on Instagram or something. And Colt was like, okay, but at the time he was still in Brazil with Diana, so he ended up telling her, actually, you know, I'm in Brazil, I'm not gonna leave Brazil. But he was still like telling Courtney before that, making it sound like there was a chance that he would come back to America and be done with Diana. But he ended up telling Courtney, no, I think I'm going to stay in Brazil. And Courtney got mad after that. And then after that, she finally blocked him. And then Courtney said that Colt was scared and texting her, saying he was scared that Diana was going to try to unalive him while he was in Brazil, because apparently she's a veterinarian, and he was scared that she was going to bring home some like medicine that she used to euthanize animals with. He thought that she was going to bring that medicine home and try to euthanize him with it. I'm like, God damn. After Phil proposed to Courtney, she became so emotional. She started crying. And I really felt for her in this moment, because she's like, you know, all my life I've been watching all my friends get married, have kids, move on with their lives, and Courtney just always felt like she was left behind, and she was starting to question if she was ever going to find her person. Literally 6 months ago, she was on this singles retreat, and then after that, she moved into her parents' house with Cole, and she's living with her parents, and now she's living with Phil and engaged and about to have her happily ever after. There's been so much that's changed this past 6 months, and Courtney just thought she'd never find her person, and she's just so thankful that she finally has. But Cole is not convinced that Phil is Courtney's person. He said that, like I mentioned earlier, that Courtney would always flirt with him, and he said he never saw the spark between them. And he said that he thinks that Courtney just likes to go out and spend Phil's money. That's what they pretty much like to do for fun. They'll go out, spend Phil's money, since it seems like he's pretty loaded. And I'm just like, I'm happy for Courtney, and I'm glad she finally found her person, because everyone deserves that. And he seems like a really good guy. I mean, he's cute for his age. I mean, I don't have no problem with people dating people who are older. To me, age is just a number. The only thing that's concerning is, you know, he may be able to get around a lot right now, and they may be able to do a lot, but here in like 10 years, he may not be able to get around as much. And the real question is Courtney going to want to stick around for that? But we saw how she stuck around for Colt when Colt really couldn't get around, and how much she helped him. So I could see her doing those same things for Phil as he gets older. I feel like Courtney really likes Phil because he reminds her a lot of her parents. He has a similar house like her parents. He acts a lot like her parents. But I do feel like they do have some chemistry despite what Colt said. And I guess Courtney got jealous of Liz trying to steal her man. I guess Liz, Kimberly, Courtney, and Phil all went out to eat, and I guess Liz and Phil were talking about real estate. I'm assuming that's what he does for a living. And I guess when Courtney went to the bathroom with Liz, she's like, "Girl, are you trying to steal my man?" And she's like, "No." And freaking Liz said, "Look, I like older men, but I'm not trying to get a man that I gotta buy a coffin for here in 2 days." I'm happy for Courtney, though. I'm glad she found herself a man that she's very happy with and she feels loved. I'm curious if she is gonna still want kids with Phil, because I don't think Phil is interested in having any more kids. I guess he's got a bunch of grandchildren. He said if him and Courtney got married, she's gonna have more grandchildren than her parents. But I think that she's willing to sacrifice those things in order to be with Bill. And it makes sense her trying to switch it up and try something different, because obviously being with men her own age were not working out. She went from being with a guy who doesn't have a place that she has to take care of to being with a guy who's the exact opposite of that, who can take care of her. And she says they're now out here living their best retired life, and it sounds like they get to spend all day every day with each other. And I'm very curious what made them break up that one time that they did break up, that she blocked Phil. And hopefully whatever made them break up, they've worked past that. But you guys let me know what you think. Do you guys think that Courtney and Phil are gonna last in the long run? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you guys so much for watching.